It appears a lot of African countries have really been encouraged. Right now, they are using their social media platforms. They are calling out these politicians. They are calling out these public servants, and they are reminding them that we, the people, are the boss. I feel like Kenyans were doing this for themselves, not knowing how big of an impact it was going to have on the people of Africa. No life had to be lost so that the president could make all these changes. Are people happy about certain developments here and there? Absolutely. But the president also needs to be reminded that Musalia Mudavadi's position is also very unconstitutional. I hope our leaders have also seen that just as thousands and thousands of Kenyans are jobless, they too can be jobless. Some of them were walking proudly, just like acting as if nothing can touch these positions, or acting as if they are immune. Now, it's not a coincidence that all eyes are on Kenya, and a lot of African countries are praising Kenyans for what they have been able to do, especially for the last 1 month.
After just few days of protesting, Kenya president don't finally submit. He does surrender to the people of Kenya.
You see, I feel we have been charitable enough. The Ghanaian people have been so patient, because if Kenya has all these figures I have quoted, 10 times better than the economy Baumiasu pretends over, and yet they have poured out to the streets to demonstrate and protest harshly against economic, derailment, then we as a people of this country have been so calm and have been so tolerant.
And whenever we think about Africa as a continent, what really catches my attention is how a lot of people praise us, saying we have great natural resources, saying how gifted Africans are, but this does not reflect on our development, and we appear to be really rich in resources, but very poor in our ways of living. And guys, as you all know, we went to the street, and this is the part I really want to tell each and everyone, that your voice matters. Just seeing the president dissolve the entire cabinet, which, if you ask me, was full of people who are not even qualified to be in certain positions, really made me happy. And this just goes back to when we all started this whole reject finance bill, and people started expressing their dissatisfaction with the government, and people were really a bit scared and skeptical of whether they should use their voice or not. But I hope just what is progressing in our country is a reflection of how powerful and how important your voice is. And I want to emphasize that at any given moment, you should want to be a member of any good change that is happening in your country. That is how we take back our power, and this is how we make sure that Africa as a continent does not continue to belong and to be governed by external forces. So kudos to everyone that used their voice. Kudos to everyone that went and marched out there. I know the war is not over, but we can at least appreciate that a lot of developments have happened, and we can only hope that these developments are going to serve Kenyans. And I hope our leaders have also seen that just as thousands and thousands of Kenyans are jobless, they too can be jobless. And a lot of these cabinet secretaries, some of them were walking proudly, just like acting as if nothing can touch these positions, or acting as if they are immune to being unemployed. And I hope they also feel how it feels to be unemployed in a country that we know, if we were to be able to take our resources serious, if we were to be able to be governed the way we need to be governed, unemployment would not be a case in Kenya. So it's very important even for them to be able to experience this, so that when they see people talk of unemployment, they also know how it feels. So unemployed na wengine pia, like just seeing them waking up and I'm not rejoicing in the fact that they do not have their jobs, but for me it's a clear indication that the employment instability in our country is real, and it's real even to public servants. So just seeing these current developments happening in our country is something that we should be proud of for having used our voice. And I've seen people are also saying that even though the cabinet has been dissolved, we need to make sure that these offices are audited, so that even though someone has been let go, or they might not be coming back, they are able to be held accountable for any corrupt deeds that happened in their term of office. But back to Kenya, reminds me of that song, Tupac's song, All Eyes on Me. It appears a lot of African countries have really been encouraged, and just by seeing what Kenyans have been able to do. And as I was saying, Africa is such a great continent, but just the thought that we are not even able to survive, matters employment, matters services, matters infrastructure, that we are so behind really pains me, especially when the whole world gets to view Africa as a great continent, but then have leaders who are not able to serve their citizens. So it appears again, Kenya has set the pace for a lot of African countries. You wake up and you know, we were watching yesterday a Uganda broadcaster, and they had this as their title, and they said, when Kenya sneezes, the Uganda, then dot and dot, you know. And I've seen a lot of people saying when Kenya sneezes, the whole African continent gets a flu. And you know, there has to be a pioneer when it comes to changes. We cannot just wake up one day and all of us are super motivated to do something. But just seeing Kenyans be able to set the pace for other African countries really makes me proud. I was watching something and someone in Ghana was saying, even what we are going through in Kenya is not as bad as what Ghanaians are going through. But they have always been scared to speak. But right now they are using their social media platforms. They are calling out these politicians. They are calling out these public servants, and they are reminding them that we, the people, are the boss, and we put you there so that you can be able to lead us, not be boss over us. So it's very good to see that Kenyans have really influenced the way now people in Ghana are going around their business. And they were saying every time there is something critical happening in Ghana, there is always a football match or something, just to be able to itoe attention yao from the main things that are happening in the country. But now they are really curious, they are really aware, they are woke, and they are saying Ghana is our country, and Ghana is our business, and we must also hold our leaders accountable. And one other person that really made me happy was the economic freedom fighters leader, Julius Malema. I feel like Julius Malema has stood on business. Like, he means what he says. Like, he's not a double-edged person. Like, he's someone who has been known to stand out there and fight for Africa as a continent. And him just being able to air his voice and just encouraging Kenyans. He said, he congratulated Kenyans youth for doing an amazing job. And he stood in solidarity with the people of Kenya. And his party also condemned the use of, tear gas, canisters, live bullets, all these things. He has been at the forefront advocating for a better Kenya, and also reminding us that even his party and everyone, those people who are on the same line of thought in South Africa are also supporting. And also to see our brothers and sisters in Nigeria also coming out and also taking to the social media platforms and checking out their leaders and just joining in the movement. I feel like Kenya has set the pace for a new Africa. I feel like Kenyans were doing this for themselves, not knowing how big of an impact it was going to have on the people of Africa. I feel like Kenyans being brave and talking to their president and demanding for a better way of living from their leaders has definitely set a pace for the entire African continent. Mine is to encourage our brothers and sisters as they continue looking up to Kenya, as they continue looking up to what we are doing as Kenyans, they must know that they also have to advocate for the same in their own backyards. And it's okay for them to see what we are doing, but it's very important for them to use their voice and add on to what Kenyans are doing. And also, as I said earlier, to the brave men and women that stood on business, that used their voice, that decided, you know what, enough is enough. We are going out for these protests. We are going to use our voice. I really do commend you. And once again, I keep saying that no life had to be lost so that the president could make all these changes. Are people happy about certain developments here and there? Absolutely. But the president also needs to be reminded that Musalia Mudavadi's position is also very unconstitutional. So even as we gear towards change, let's make sure that we are binding by our constitution. Let's make sure that we are not doing things that are half-baked, that we can be able to complete respect and honor our constitution. And also, once again, may we remember why we started this in the first place. May we remember why we went to the streets. May we remember why we used our voice in the first place. And may we remember that accountability. I am loving the conversations that are happening in X spaces. I was just the other day, we spent almost 3 hours listening to this conversation that was being spearheaded by Emirates on the X spaces. And Kenyans have ideas. Kenyans have great things going on. And I urge people to join these spaces, to join these conversations. Even if you don't get to talk, at least please participate in listening. May we not see them going down, because there's always that tendency of kitu imeshika halafu kitu inarudi inaanguka. Let's remember that the future of this continent, the future of Africa is in our hands. We must start questioning when we hear of IMF, when we hear of World Bank, when we talk about loans. What do we mean? Why do we need these loans? What are these loans benefiting us in? And I saw somewhere that Julius Malema is still of the opinion that, the finance bill, and also a lot of people of this opinion, that the finance bill was as a result of outside, like a recommendation of outside forces. Guys, it's Africa. Why do we always have to keep looking at other international figures, international companies to be able to advise us on how to run our continent? So the fact that these finance bills do not have even the local mwananchi in mind, they are all recommended by external forces, should be worrying to everyone. So it's very important for us right now to completely learn about IMF, to completely learn about this, World Bank, all these external organizations that loan us money. We must be able to know what are their terms and conditions. And is this something that we really want as a country? And that's how we take our power back. I have a great faith in Africa as a continent. The fact that people are no longer scared, people are no longer intimidated, people are no longer, just double-checking themselves, people are out there for a greater cause, should actually be a proud moment for all of us as Africans. So Ghana, as you continue watching us, Nigeria, South Africa, Uganda, Tanzania, and all these African countries, always remember that you are gearing towards the right path. Do not be intimidated. Start speaking up. This is for our generation. This is for our children. This is for our our grandchildren, our great-great-grandchildren. This is for everyone that calls Africa home. And I know sometimes it's not easy, but we really need to look at the bigger picture. And I emphasize, and talking to our governments, that no life needs to be lost so that you can get to listen to your people. But let me know where you are watching this conversation from. Which African country are you in? What are some of the things that have sparked, your mind? What are some of the ways that you guys will go forward? What are some of the conversations that you've started having even outside Kenya? What would you wish your government to do? And how has this movement continent? How has the recent affairs that have happened in Kenya, how have they impacted you as an African? So let me know, do share that on the comment section. And just a polite reminder, just because the cabinet has been dissolved does not mean that the war is over. We have to hold our government accountable, but most importantly, we have to be at the forefront in advocating and fighting for a better Kenya and a greater continent, Africa, the place we all call home. So do share your thoughts with me on the comment section and let me know, how are you viewing Kenya right now and how has this movement impacted your life? My name is Lynn Ngugi. Thank you so much for watching.